Touch of velvet, a sting of brass, and my guest has joined me, Chris Peskett. Good morning.
Good morning. It's lovely to be here.
Good. Now, you have learning difficulties and medical problems. Tell me how this all came about.
Well, the thing was when I was about 6 months old, my mum took me into the hospital and said there's something wrong with this, obviously, child. And I was fitting, and no doctor could figure out why. So they actually ended up creating this medication and looking further into it. Obviously, it's the early 90s, so all of this is quite fresh. And they said this medication will either kill you or survive,
Oh my
pretty
goodness.
much. So it's really in depth.
A 50-50 chance.
Yeah, like a 50-50 chance. It went into the newspaper, actually, funny enough. And this medication they tried, and it actually solved epilepsy. What was really interesting. And I've been on the same medication dose since the early 90s to now.
Right. And you say you've got medical problem. Was fitting your only medical problem, or have you got others?
Well, the other medical problems what I have is I had pancreatic cancer when I was 14. As I say, I have tumours on my kidneys, and both my kidneys only work at 40%, plus two massive ones on there, and all around my body as well. So unfortunately, there's not much they can do about that. But I like to look at life on the bright side of things.
Yes. And your learning difficulties, how has that come about?
Well, that came about since basically when I was really young, really, and we kind of, Mum figured it out with like the simple tasks, like, well, basically if you put on your trousers, for example, I'd put them on backwards.
Okay.
Sort of thing.
Right.
So it took a lot of learning for me.
Did it affect your schooling?
Yes, actually, I went to Glenwood, so what was a special needs school. So that they had like cooking courses and things like that there, but a lot of support, and I think that helped quite a lot.
Right, and do you find life difficult or?
I mean, sometimes. I mean, it all depends on really the task, but I like to obviously show myself and show other people that people with disabilities can, if they put their mind to it, they can do the exact same thing than any other ordinary job.
Yes, yeah. There's places like there's a community centre in Emsworth where the whole of the kitchens of the community centre is run by people with learning difficulties.
Funny enough you say that, I actually work there.
Oh, really? Oh.
So I work there on a Friday, and I teach the art bit. So there's the, obviously as you say, there's the cooking bit, and then they cook for all the artists what paint during the day.
Right.
Very good at cooking.
Yeah, excellent. So it is really nice to know that in a world where normality is the usual, there are places which cater for people with difficulties.
Yes, but I find that they're very limited, if that makes sense.
Right, okay, so you'd like to see that expanded?
Yeah, I think if that was expanded, I think we would have a lot more in the world, and I think we'd be able to work together as well, because I find the world very like black and white, if that makes sense, on some people's opinions, especially if you go for like a job interview. If you went for the same job interview, put a Down syndrome person in there and then a regular person, 99% of the time they'd pick the regular person.
Yes. The other thing I've noticed is that a lot of people talk to people with mental and sometimes also with physical difficulties. They talk to them as though they're a child.
Yeah.
It's almost as if you've got a physical or a mental difficulty, you can't be talked to like a normal person. Suddenly you can only be talked to like a child.
Well, that is the only. That's the thing. That's the kind of thing what I want to obviously change in this world, is that the fact that you can speak to someone ordinary, but all you need to do is kind of link in with their level.
Yes.
And then just change your words,
Yeah.
kind of, if that makes sense.
Yeah. So, what do you personally do to help other people with learning difficulties and medical problems?
So what I do is I teach. I put together a class. What's obviously boxing. What was the new boxing gym in Waterlooville?
Right.
What George Mackenzie runs it. Lovely, lovely guy. He'd do anything for you. What's really nice. And I went in there and I asked him, is there any chance that we can set up a boxing group? And he went, yeah, that's fine for people with disabilities. He says, as long as you get it all sorted, the space is yours. So I went, okay. So I went to the Waterlooville Library, got them printed out, like some leaflets, sent them out all to my work and everything. And it started off with one person, what's called Ben, who's severely autistic, social-wise very, very low. But as long as you explain stuff to them, they understand it as anyone else.
Yeah. And is it just the boxing that you do, or do you have like a internet? Do you have,
I also have 4 social media pages. So what I do is every week on Saturday, I will do short videos during the class, and then I'll put it all together. So it'll be on TikTok, Instagram, YouTube, and Facebook. You'll be able to find it. So any of those 4 social media sites.
Okay, and what do they look for?
So what they would look for is what you put in the search bar is Waterlooville Boxing Club, and it comes straight up with it. Or you can put in Christopher Pescott, and it'll come up with me with all of the videos.
Okay. Now, with all these medical problems, is your lifespan limited?
Well, funny enough, once I had pancreatic cancer and I had ammonia 3 times and sepsis once, they said, no, you're not going to survive this. That's it. That's the last bit of your life. But till today now, I'm pretty much alive at the age of 32, and they didn't think that was even possible.
Well, that's amazing. Amazing. Chris, you're a wonder. And thank you so much for coming on and telling us. Is there any sort of message that you'd like to give our listeners?
Well, one of the messages I would love to give is to be able to say to people is treat them as anyone else. Don't treat them differently, because their knowledge is absolutely fantastic, and it's just as good as anyone else's.
Yeah. Some people with autism have better knowledge than other people of certain subjects, don't they? When I was working in the art department at South Downs College, we had a chap who could tell you every single thing about fire engines in New York. He
Wow.
could tell you the tyre pressure, the water pressure. Far better at that subject than anyone else I know, whether they're considered normal or not. It's amazing how different people's brains work.
Well, it's funny how you say that, because we've got someone at work called Tanny. This is my Friday job. She will tell you any date of your birthday, and she will remember it from months, years, doesn't matter. It's absolutely crazy. I mean,
Yeah.
even remembers my wife's birthday, and she hasn't worked there for months. It's incredible.
I could never remember anybody's birthdays.
That's part of the
Better than me.
that's part of the mind. What I absolutely love about people with disabilities, what normal people don't actually really sink into, and that's what I love about doing what I do with teaching them. And that's why they're just so fantastic and amazing to be around.
Have you thought of any other types of classes that you could teach people, bring people out of themselves?
Well, unfortunately, I'm very limited with my skills. So the two skills, what I'd probably say what I have is obviously art teacher and boxing, because boxing I've been learning since 2017 by professional fighters. So that's been really, really good. And due to my obviously my brain tumor, I can't go in the ring, but I do all the training what you see,
Right.
like with Mike Tyson and things like that. So I
Right.
do all of that training.
Okay.
So, and I teach that training to the guys. I mean, they even have the mitts on their hands and they're going against each other.
Right, right. Chris, thank you so much, and I wish you a long and happy life.
Thank you.
Keep doing what you're doing. Well, I've been talking to Chris